The call came out of nowhere. Not a happy one, not a guess what, Dad? Just. My payment didn't go through. What's going on? Like I was her bank's customer service, not her father. It was Sarah. And she was asking about a transfer. The transfer that was supposed to cover her rent. But it hadn't hit my account. That's how I found out she was married, by the way. Not with a call, not an invitation, not even a quick text. Just a confused question about money. I just sat there, phone still in my hand after I'd mumbled something about looking into it and hung up. And that's when I felt it, something just cracked inside my chest. You spent your life building something, pouring every ounce of yourself into it, and then one day, it just shatters. I'd noticed she'd been distant, 4 months. Always busy when I called. Quick, one-word texts, lame excuses. Last month, she said she was out of town, but I drove by her apartment in Houston and her car was right there in the parking lot. Red flags, right? But I kept telling myself, she's an adult, she's busy with her own life. Even sent her extra money for her birthday to buy a new laptop, got a heart emoji in response. No call, no real thanks. I told myself I was being too sensitive. Turns out, I was just funding a wedding I wasn't good enough to be invited to. See, I adopted Sarah when she was 7. Her biological father, he was never in the picture. My ex-wife, Brenda, left when Sarah was 9. Packed up and moved 4 states away for some guy. So, it was just me. Me and this scared, quiet little girl. I worked doubles, picked up every weekend shift I could, just to make sure she had everything. Dance classes, summer camps, a college fund that seemed impossible to build on my salary. Every night, we'd sit at the kitchen table, me helping her with homework. Drove her to sleepovers, picked her up from parties, no matter how late. When she got into Kansas University, costing $40,000 a year, I made it happen. Took out loans, adjusted my retirement plans. But I made it happen. Because that's what you do, right? You make sacrifices for your kid. After graduation, I co-signed her apartment lease. Bought her furniture. Got her a car when hers finally died. Kept her on my insurance, sent her monthly support while she found her footing in her career. 25 years. Every single decision, every budget, every plan, it all factored her in. She was the center of everything. That night, sleep was impossible. Around 2 in the morning, I went to my office. Pulled out all the financial records. Started adding everything up. Adoption fees, the child support I paid before Brenda finally signed away her rights, school costs, that ridiculous college tuition, the car, apartment deposits, those 3 years of monthly support after she graduated, medical expenses. When I finally hit the total, I felt physically sick. 6 figures. Money that could have been a house for me. A real retirement fund. Actual security. I'd given it willingly. Because I truly believed I was building a relationship that mattered. Then, I remembered my old tablet. Still logged into Instagram. And that's where I found them. Public wedding photos. On some hashtag page. A full ceremony at a vineyard in Napa Valley. 60 people there. Bridesmaids. A DJ at the reception. And there, in the photos, was Brenda. My ex-wife. The woman who abandoned Sarah years ago, standing there, smiling in some expensive dress. Friends I'd met before, people I knew. Her old roommate, the one I'd helped move across town, she was there too. All these people, watching my daughter get married. And I didn't even know the groom's name. There was one photo of her dancing with an older man, probably Michael's father, with a caption about being grateful for family. I paid for the degree that got her the job. I paid for the apartment where she probably met this guy. I paid for the car she drove to the venue. And I wasn't family enough for a text message. I didn't call her. Didn't send angry messages. No. Monday morning, first thing, I canceled that automatic transfer. Called the insurance company, removed her from my policies. Removed her as an authorized user on my credit card. Called her landlord in Houston about getting off the cosign. He wasn't happy, no, but I had all my documentation. Moved her phone to her own account. Cancelled the gym membership I'd been covering. Changed all the streaming passwords. It took a full week to untangle everything. I wasn't angry, not really. It was more like a clarity. A quiet, cold understanding that I'd been volunteering for a role nobody actually wanted me in. She didn't call to check on me during those first few days. The silence from her end? It was so utterly normal that hurt worse than any fight. It just showed me how one-sided everything had always been. Day 6, her credit card got declined. Day 7, the transfer didn't hit. Day 8, my phone finally rang. Her voice was tense, accusatory. Hey, something's wrong with my accounts. Did you change something? Not hello. Not how are you. Straight to the money. I just told her, yeah, I made some changes. A pause. What kind of changes? I explained it. Removed her from everything. Stopped the support. Another pause. Why would you do that? Like I'd done something completely unreasonable. I said I figured she didn't need it anymore. She was married now, clearly had her own life. She started to respond, but I was done. Told her I had to go. And I hung up. The phone rang 4 more times. Then the texts started. I didn't read them. Just turned my phone off and went out to my quiet garage. Sat there among the tools I'd collected over 30 years, feeling absolutely nothing. The texts kept coming for 3 days. Confused at first, then urgent. Her rent bounced. Car insurance lapsed. Kansas University froze her account for an unpaid bill. I didn't respond. Every single message just confirmed it. She only needed me for money. Day 4, she showed up at my house. I pulled into the driveway, and her car was already there. She got out before I even closed my truck door, walked right up to me. We need to talk about this. Hair messy, no makeup, sweatpants. I just grabbed my bag and walked past her. She followed me inside, rambling about how unreasonable I was, how she had bills and responsibilities. I finally asked her, quietly, when was the wedding? She stopped. Tried to play it down. Oh, it was small, last minute, barely anyone there. I looked at her. Told her I saw the photos. Knew her mother, Brenda, was there. Knew it was fully planned. Her expression shifted then, got defensive. Said it was complicated, that I wouldn't understand, that she wanted to keep it simple, without family drama. Something in me just went cold. I asked, what drama could there be, when you didn't even tell the family who raised you? She started crying. Said I'd been too controlling, always wanting updates, making her feel guilty, that she needed space without me hovering. I asked if the monthly deposits were hovering. If paying her insurance was controlling. She didn't answer, just kept crying. I told her the money stopping wasn't punishment. It was just reality. She's married now. Has a partner. Doesn't want me in her life. So, there's no reason to keep funding it. She asked how I could be so cold. I almost laughed. Cold? Finding out about her marriage from a failed bank transfer was cold. She left fast after that. Tires squealing out of the driveway. Her husband, Michael, had no idea how much I'd been supporting her. She'd told him she was financially independent, had her own career. When everything started bouncing, he asked questions. Then the landlord called about the cosigner, and Michael answered her phone. Found out her father had been guaranteeing her lease because she didn't qualify. That her car was in my name. That her graduate program at Kansas University was still being funded by my account. He called me directly. Polite. Said he needed to understand what was going on. I gave him the short version. A long silence. He asked how much monthly. I told him. Another silence. Then he just thanked me and hung up. That call, it started a whole thing in their marriage. Michael's sister, Emily, found old photos I'd posted over the years. Her graduation, where I'd written about how proud I was. Her college acceptance. Father-daughter pictures from dance recitals. Emily showed Michael everything. And he realized Sarah had told everyone she'd had an absent father and raised herself. That she'd worked through college, built her career from nothing, was completely self-made. The photos showed something different. So did the financial trail. Her tuition auto-paying from my account. Cosigner on her lease. My name on her car title. Everything she'd built her identity on had my fingerprints all over it. And she'd airbrushed me out completely. Michael's family started asking questions. Why wasn't her father at the wedding if they had that relationship? His mother, Carol, kept bringing it up. Sarah tried explaining we'd had a falling out, that I was difficult, but someone found her college graduation speech from 3 years ago. Thanking me by name for everything I'd sacrificed. Hard to square that with the absent father's story. Michael confronted her. She admitted she'd lied. Said she was embarrassed about being dependent. Wanted to seem capable. He asked why she didn't just invite me then. No good answer. Asked when she'd last had a real conversation with me that wasn't about money. She couldn't remember. By mid-October, their marriage was hanging by a thread. Michael moved to his brother's place. Not because of the money, he said. But because of the lying. She'd built their entire relationship on a false version of herself. Sarah called me late one night, drunk, sobbing that I'd ruined everything. That Michael was leaving and it was all my fault. I asked her how me stopping payments made her look bad unless she'd been lying about it. She hung up. Called back 10 minutes later, apologizing. Asking me to please help fix it. Just cover rent for a few months, maybe talk to Michael. I said no. Told her I'd spent 25 years helping, and I was done. That she needed to figure this out herself. She cried. And I felt nothing. Just an empty space where that parental instinct used to be. I hung up. Changed my number the next day. Without that $1,800 a month, reality hit fast. She made $60,000 a year, but lived like she made twice that. Nice apartment, ate out constantly, bought clothes, took trips. My money was just free spending cash. Her rent alone was $2,000. With car payment, insurance, utilities, student loans, she was upside down immediately. Her mother, Brenda, refused to help. Sarah started selling things. The furniture I'd bought, jewelry, her camera. Not enough. By November, she'd moved into a room in a shared house with roommates. Had to rehome her cat. Dropped graduate courses at Kansas. Michael filed for annulment in early December, citing fraud about her financial situation and family circumstances. Wedding guests asked for gifts back. She didn't have money to return anything. Her social media went quiet. Someone mentioned seeing her, looking rough, working a second job weekends at a mall. I wasn't obsessing over her downfall. No. I was doing better than I had in years. The money I'd sent her? It went into savings now. Paid off my truck in January. Put extra toward my mortgage. Took a vacation by myself. Went skiing in Aspen. My life felt mine again. I started a scholarship fund through the local community college for students from single-parent households. Partnered with a non-profit helping foster kids. Quiet contributions to people who needed help and actually appreciated it. It felt right, in a way sending money to Sarah never had. She sent a letter in March. Handwritten. Pages of apology. Said she understood now what I'd done. That she'd been selfish, had rewritten history, and it cost her everything. Michael was gone. Her nice life was gone. Working 2 jobs, barely making it. She didn't ask for money, just said sorry and hoped I could forgive her. The letter sat on my counter for 3 days. A part of me wanted to believe it was real. But I remembered that first phone call about the missing payment. Remembered the wedding. I drafted responses, but never sent them. Filed the letter away. Some things you can't fix with sorry. A week later, my lawyer called. Sarah had reached out, asking if there was a legal way to compel me to reinstate support. He told her no, she's an adult, but wanted to give me a heads up. Even after the apology letter, she was still looking for an angle to get money flowing again. It wasn't about the relationship. Just restoring the financial arrangement. The annulment went through in April. Michael's brother, Emily's husband, mentioned it in passing. Said Michael was relieved and moving on. I nodded, didn't ask about her, but information finds you anyway. A woman I'd been dating, Eleanor, mentioned seeing Sarah at the grocery store, looking exhausted in a work uniform. Said she barely recognized her. I just said things had been tough, and changed the subject. For the first time, she was experiencing what it took to survive without a safety net. That wasn't my responsibility to cushion anymore. My life kept improving. The scholarship fund gave out its first awards in May. 3 students getting $5,000 each. I met them at the ceremony. Kids who reminded me of Sarah at that age. Except they were grateful. One girl, whose mom was raising her and 2 siblings on a waitress salary, she teared up thanking me. Said this meant she could quit her night job and focus on classes. I drove home feeling like my money was actually making a difference. Started expanding the fund, adding mentorship for construction trades. The nonprofit asked me to join their board. I was building something real. Summer came with no word from Sarah for months. Then in July, a LinkedIn message. Said she'd been doing therapy, working on herself, wanted to meet for coffee. No expectations. I looked at it for a long time. Closed LinkedIn without responding. Days later, another message, saying she understood if I didn't want to meet. I archived both. What I didn't know was she'd been evicted. Tried going to Brenda, but that door was closed. Couch surfed with friends until that wore out. Ended up in an extended stay motel, renting by the week. Lost one job when her car got repossessed. A former roommate reached out in August, worried. Sent a photo of Sarah at a bus stop, looking thin and defeated. I thanked her. Didn't do anything with it. Helping would just enable avoiding real change. In September, I sold my house. Too big, too full of memories. Bought a smaller place outside Houston, on a couple acres, with room for a workshop. The move felt symbolic, like physically leaving that chapter behind. Started taking creative projects, custom furniture, restoration work I enjoyed. Started dating Eleanor seriously. She owned a bookstore. She knew my situation, didn't judge or try to fix it. We took things slow. It was easy. October. I got an email from Sarah through my work address. Said she was living in her car. Had lost everything. Knew she'd done this to herself, but was scared. Wasn't asking for money, just advice on how to climb out. Said she'd been going to free therapy and finally understood how badly she'd messed up. Said she loved me and was sorry. I read it twice. Went for a long walk, thinking. Eleanor asked what I'd do. I said I didn't know. She said that was okay. I sat with it for a week. The truth was, I didn't trust her. Not with money, not with my emotions. She'd proven I was only valuable as a resource. One email from rock bottom didn't erase that. But completely cutting her off forever felt wrong, too. I compromised. Sent a short email saying I got her message. Was sorry she was struggling. Gave her a number for social services I'd worked with. Told her they could help with emergency housing and job placement. Told her I hoped she'd turn things around. Didn't offer to meet. Didn't send money. Just pointed her toward help that wasn't me. She thanked me. Said she'd call them. I don't know if she did. Around Thanksgiving, Eleanor asked if I'd heard from her. I said no, and that was fine. We had dinner at her place with her kids and their families. A warm, chaotic gathering of people who genuinely wanted to be around each other. I didn't miss the old holidays. This was better. Being wanted. Being chosen. Being reciprocal. Eleanor's daughter asked about my woodworking, got excited, asked me to teach her. We made plans. Such a small, normal interaction. But it felt different from everything with Sarah, where everything had been transactional. December. My company had its best year. Custom work was taking off. Hired 2 young guys to help. Started teaching them. The scholarship fund gave winter awards. The nonprofit asked me to join their board. I was building something that mattered. Nothing to do with obligation or earning love. Christmas Eve. I was finishing a rocking chair commission when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Merry Christmas, Dad. I stared at it. Thought about all the Christmas mornings I'd made special. Set the phone down. And went back to sanding. It didn't buzz again. I finished the chair as the sun set, stepped back to look at it. Good work. Solid and beautiful. Something that would last. Something I'd built that had value independent of anyone's approval. Locked up and walked back to Eleanor's, where she was waiting. The phone stayed quiet, and I was okay with that. I was free. New Year, I resolved to stop checking for messages from her. Took effort at first, but it got easier. By February, I could go days without thinking about her. Business grew. Scholarship fund was making an impact. Eleanor and I talked about moving in together. My life was full in ways it hadn't been when I was focused on being needed by someone who didn't actually want me. Spring came, and I was planning a trip to meet Eleanor's son in Portland. My work phone rang. Case manager from the social services I'd referred Sarah to. Said Sarah had asked her to call. Wanted me to know she'd completed job training. Got placed in a stable position with benefits. Living in a sober house, working on mental health. Didn't expect anything, but wanted me to know she was trying. I thanked her and hung up. Told Eleanor later. She asked how I felt. I said I didn't know. Glad she was getting help, maybe. Not convinced it would stick. Not interested in getting pulled back in. The thing about letting go is it's a series of small choices, daily decisions. To not engage. To not rescue. To not answer. You make the choice over and over until it becomes automatic. That's where I was by summer. Comfortable in my boundaries. Genuinely happy. Expanded the scholarship fund again. Added a housing stipend for foster kids. Did a fundraiser that helped a dozen kids. This was what parenting should feel like. Investment that mattered. Gratitude that was real. Late summer, I heard she'd moved to a different city, somewhere cheaper. Still working her program, building something stable. I felt nothing, just a distant acknowledgement she existed somewhere. We'd become strangers. You can't maintain a relationship by yourself. Eleanor and I got engaged in October. Small, private thing on a hike at sunrise. Her kids were thrilled. I felt settled. We set a date for spring. Started planning a simple ceremony with close family and friends. People asked if I'd invite Sarah. I said no, without hesitation. This was my new beginning. Eleanor supported it completely. Sometimes, late at night, I'd think about that 7-year-old girl I'd adopted, so scared and hurt. Wonder when she'd turned into someone who calculated relationships in dollars. Whether I'd failed her somehow. But those thoughts didn't stick. I'd done my best. Given everything I had. That it wasn't enough wasn't on me anymore. I'd released that weight. The workshop was calling. Students needed mentoring. Eleanor was planning seating charts. Life was moving forward. I was moving with it. Finally, after years of standing still, waiting for someone to notice I was there, I noticed that was enough. Do you ever truly recover from a betrayal like that, or do you just learn to live around the scar?